I had a little bit of trouble figuring out how to use the ground control coilover conversion kit for the E46 M3. So I just figured I'd put this video together to show you what worked for me. The first thing, this threaded sleeve here, you'll see on the Koni yellows, the connector for the stabilizer bar interferes. So you do have to trim a little bit of that off to make room for the connection. It's like the bottom 3 or 4 threads there, so not a big deal, but just something you have to do on that strut. And then this slips on. I used some electrical tape underneath it to kind of hold it in place a little bit. You can still see you can twist it. This is the hybrid camber plates, so it's kind of the race camber plates with a little gasket down here to reduce some of the noise. So the way this works, if we peel this off, there we go, and you can see the little bearing down inside there. This is the spring perch. It's got a little bit of give to it there. And then this is the camber plate itself. This just sort of sits right down on top of that. And then we use this 14 millimeter. Now, this was one of the tricky things, is that if I can get it to focus, I don't know the shaft diameter, but this is 16 millimeter and it goes to 14, but it's got this big tapered section. It's about 10 millimeters long that we need to deal with. And so what we came up with is using these 3 spacers here. Those go on to get it to about that level. And then the spring perch goes on. So that gets the whole assembly to the point where we're at the threaded section. Now there's a little bit of gap here where the camber plate itself covers that tapered section, and then we take the 14 millimeter, which is, fits well in there, and that slides just down to the base of that, and that gives us just enough threads where the nylock engages there. So that is how the camber plate fits. A couple other details you might find useful. So I've already kind of installed this a few times and set the height and everything. And this right here is where I found it to be the stock ride height. There's a few threads here. Oh, and part of the reason is because I've got a helper spring. And I'd sort of debated putting the helper spring on the top or the bottom. And I landed on the bottom because I'm using this coupler to couple the helper spring to the load-bearing spring. And I noticed that even with the helper spring sort of fully compressed like that, the coupler was going to be touching the bottom of this, or I guess the bottom of the spring perch. So I decided that, so the other option would be, if I put the helper spring here, then when this compresses, then the coupler will sit on top of the adjuster, and that feels, that's nice and solid. So I would have preferred the helper spring be on the top so that it would be sprung weight as opposed to unsprung weight. Not sure it really matters that much because it weighs not a lot. But anywho, that's how I made the decision. Helper spring goes there. And my load spring goes here. So let's see parts that might be useful. This is a 4-inch, 2.5 inside diameter Hyperco helper spring. The Ibach coupler, those just turned out to be the cheapest. yeah, like I said, Koni yellow. And then, you know, these are the 3 adapters we needed. There's a few other in the kit, but didn't need those. Oh, one more thing to note is the bump stops. So the bump stops included in the kit are this one, which are you know, kind of sized for the struts, and these for the shocks. Now I ended up using the ones for the shocks. The problem I noticed is the one for the struts, you know, sits in at the base of the camber plate just like that. And the problem I foresee is that this will ride over these little bushings here. So you can, let me pick this up, you can see what I'm on about. So with that in place, you can kind of imagine that because the bump stop rides up over those little bushings there, or whatever you call them, each of those bushings sort of takes away some of the travel of the bump stop. So really, the shock will bottom out right about here. So only that's how much effective bump stop we have. So what I came up with to solve it, which I don't think is perfect, I think the right answer here would be to manufacture some of those little rubber pucks. But what I elected to do instead was I cut these bump stops in half. Now this is I measured, I need it to actually be 12 millimeters. This is obviously more, but you know, it's got some give to it too. So my plan is to, and that'll push the main bump stop down a bit. So anyways, that's the solution I came up with. I don't think it's perfect, but it's what I got for the parts that I've got here. All right, and this is what it looks like assembled.